There is a kind of cage that doesn't need locks, noise, or warnings. A cage so quiet you don't even realize you're in it. You wake up, brush your teeth, check your messages, go to work, laugh with your friends, scroll your phone at night. And still, without knowing, you live inside it. Because this cage isn't made of iron. It's made of her approval, not her voice, not her touch, not her love, her opinion of you. And you've been adjusting yourself around that opinion for years. You change your haircut because you want her to notice. You change your clothes because you hope she'll approve. You change the way you talk, the way you text, the way you present yourself, not because it feels right, but because you're scared of losing her attention. You even change your beliefs, your dreams, your pace in life. But one thing never changes. Your entire life keeps spinning around the same invisible question: will she like this? You call it love. You call it effort. You call it being a good man. But if you strip away the romantic language, if you cut through the soft lies we tell ourselves, it's not love you're serving. It's dependence. Dependence on her mood. Dependence on her replies. Dependence on her validation. And dependence feels warm until the day she goes cold. Dependence feels safe until the day she becomes distant. Dependence feels like purpose until the day she pulls away, and your entire world collapses like a chair with a missing leg. You start shaking. You start overthinking. You start begging without using the word beg. That's the part of this video women don't like. Not because we hate women, not because we want to attack anyone, but because we are about to talk about the frame most men never see. The frame that makes you predictable. The frame that makes you easy to influence. The frame that keeps you trapped even while you think you're free. And once you see this frame clearly, you can never unsee it. How you became easy to control. Nobody ever warned you. No father, no teacher, no friend ever pulled you aside and said, if a woman can control your feelings, she can control your decisions. And if she can control your decisions, she controls your life. Instead, you heard the same soft messages that millions of men were raised on. Always be open. Always explain yourself. Never let her feel uncomfortable. Share everything. Talk about every emotion the second you feel it. And if she gets upset, fix it immediately. So you tried your best to be the perfect man. And without noticing, you became the man who is always available, even when he's tired. The man who is always explaining, even when he's right. The man who is always trying to repair her mood, even when she caused the problem. The man who drops everything the moment she frowns, sighs, or goes quiet. You think this makes you safe. You think this makes you trustworthy. You think this makes you different from other guys. But to many women, it makes you something else entirely: predictable. And what is predictable is rarely magnetic. It's easy to read, easy to push, easy to trigger. She knows your script better than you do. She knows if she pulls away, you chase. If she gets emotional, you apologize. If she goes silent, you panic and send long messages. If she seems disappointed, you instantly try to prove your worth. Your entire nervous system becomes tied to hers. Her tone changes, your mood drops. Her delay in texting, your chest tightens. Her tiny hint of irritation, you start planning how to fix it. You think this is love. You think this is commitment. You think this is emotional maturity. But it's not. It's training. Not because she's a villain. Not because she's evil. Not because she sat down and planned it out like a strategy. But because nobody taught you where your real power lives. In your calm. In your boundaries. In your ability to say no. In your ability to walk away. In your self-respect. In your silence. You weren't shown any of this. So you became the easiest man to manage. The man whose buttons are big, bright, and labeled. the man who reacts exactly on cue, the man who mistakes anxiety for affection, the man who mistakes chasing for leadership, the man who thinks keeping her happy is the same as being strong. And once a woman realizes she can predict you, once she knows which emotional button produces which reaction, she doesn't need power over you, because you hand it to her every time. The real currency, attention. Forget money, forget looks, forget height, muscles, cars, style. Forget the smooth lines you practiced in the mirror. In modern relationships, none of that is the real battlefield. The real currency is your attention. Because whoever controls your attention controls your energy, your focus, your mood, and your decisions. Your attention is the steering wheel of your life, and most men hand it over without even knowing. Watch how quietly it happens. She posts a cold story, not a word directed at you, just a picture with a slightly different vibe. You spend the entire day replaying it, analyzing it, wondering what it means. She replies slower than usual. Your heart drops. You start writing and deleting messages, trying to say the right thing. She says, "We need to talk." Your mind shuts down. You can't work. You can't eat. You can't breathe properly. Look at the pattern. She makes one small move, and your entire emotional world reacts like an earthquake. Is she doing this intentionally? Not always. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes it's instinct. Sometimes it's how she learned to test men. Sometimes she's not even thinking about you. But the effect is the same. Your mind becomes full of her, while her mind stays free. Free to think, free to choose, free to explore options, free to stay or leave without emotional cost. Meanwhile, you're burning mental energy, the way a fire burns wood, and you call it chemistry, connection. I really like her. But if you zoom out for a moment, you'll see the truth. It's a loop. A loop designed by human psychology, reinforced by dopamine, powered by your fear of loss. Here's the loop. She gives a little, you feel excited. She pulls away, you feel panic. She returns with warmth, you feel relieved. Excitement, panic, relief. Excitement, panic, relief. This is not romance. This is a reward schedule, the same pattern used in casinos, social media, and addiction cycles. And here's the part most men never understand. You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to the emotional roller coaster she creates. The hit of attention she gives you feels like love. The silence feels like danger. The comeback feels like hope. So you hang on, waiting for the next moment. She makes you feel chosen again. This loop is powerful. It can make a grown man abandon logic, sleep, work, and dignity. Not because you're weak, not because you're stupid, not because women are villains, but because your attention was never trained. Nobody taught you how to guard it. Nobody taught you that attention is energy. Nobody taught you that attention is power. Nobody taught you that attention is the foundation of self-respect. So you keep giving it away freely, and then wonder why you feel drained. Because the truth is simple. Your attention is your throne, and the moment someone else sits on it, you stop being the king of your own life. What she feels vis what you think. Men fall in love through words. Women fall in love through energy. Men listen to what she says. Women listen to what he is. This is why men get confused. You keep trying to solve emotional problems with paragraphs, explanations, and long messages. You write her a long text at 2 a.m. You explain your intentions. You repeat, "I just want us to be okay." You pour your heart out, hoping she will finally get it. But she isn't reading your grammar. She is reading your center. She is reading your tone, your energy, the emotional signal behind every word. She's asking herself, is this man grounded, or is he shaking? Is he choosing me or begging for me? Is he calm or terrified of losing me? Does he want connection, or is he clinging to me for validation? What you think you're sending? A message of love, a message of care, a message of explanation and honesty. What she actually receives? A message of fear, a message of insecurity, a message that she has emotional power over you. You believe, if I explain enough, she'll understand. If I express enough, she'll stay. But what she often feels is, if I can shake him this easily, I don't need to respect him. Not because she's cruel, not because she's heartless, but because women don't respect men who lose their center. You try to win her with logic. I didn't mean that. I care about you. I'm trying my best. Can we talk about this? You think she's evaluating your words, but she's evaluating your spine. To her, the real question is, does he stand on something, or does he melt the moment I withdraw warmth? Is this a man I need to match, or a man I can move with one eyebrow raise? Is he emotionally stable enough to lead a relationship, or is he reacting to every tiny shift? This is why you can say all the right things. You apologized. You explained. You stayed up late texting. You told her how much she matters. And still lose her. Because you were speaking to her mind while she was listening with her instinct. And instinct doesn't care about words. Instinct doesn't care about paragraphs. Instinct doesn't care about your 7th apology. Instinct cares about strength without aggression, calm without fear, interest without desperation, presence without panic. When your words say, I'm here, but your energy says, please don't leave. She trusts the energy, not the sentence. That's the part most men never understand. Women don't follow explanations. Women follow emotional gravity. And gravity isn't typed, it's felt. The soft form of control. Not all women do this. Not all women even realize they're doing this. Some do it consciously, others do it instinctively, and many learned it simply by watching how the world responds to them. But whether it's intentional or unconscious, the effect on you is the same. Many women use a form of soft control, control without shouting, without threats, without aggression. It doesn't look like force. It looks like emotion. It shows up in ways so subtle, you barely notice what's happening. Tears appearing the exact moment you set a boundary. Distance the minute you stand up for yourself. Coldness when you don't drop everything to fix her mood. A sudden sweet version of her returning the second she senses you, slipping away. This isn't always manipulation. It's often learned behavior. She learns from life, from experiences, from watching other men. When I act hurt, men give more. When I pull away, men chase harder. When I go silent, men explain everything. She may not plan it like a strategy, but she knows, even if only through instinct, that emotion is leverage. Soon, without trying to be a villain, her fragility becomes a form of power. Because the moment you feel, I must fix how she feels, your line begins to bend, and you will do things that go against your plans, canceling your priorities, your values agreeing to things you don't believe in, your boundaries letting behavior slide because you're scared of conflict, your peace sacrificing your mental clarity just to keep her calm. This is how good men lose themselves, not in explosions, not in some dramatic breakup, not in shouting or violence or chaos, but in a much slower, quieter way. A tiny compromise here, a small sacrifice there, another apology you didn't need to give, another boundary you didn't defend, another emotional storm you tried to fix. Until one day, you look in the mirror and barely recognize the man staring back. Not because she ruined you, but because you kept bending your line to keep one person happy while you slowly abandoned your own happiness. This is the hidden danger of soft control. You don't see the leash. You only feel the guilt. You only feel the fear of disappointing her. You only feel the pressure to do more, give more, prove more. You think you're being loving. You think you're being patient. You think you're being supportive. But what's actually happening is simple. You're being trained to prioritize her emotions over your identity. And once your identity bends for someone else's feelings, you stop being a partner and start being a caretaker of her mood. That transformation is invisible, but once it happens, you lose the most important thing a man has, your center. Why this feels banned. Now you understand why conversations like this get shut down so fast. The moment you say, "Some women use emotion to guide men's behavior," people react as if you committed a crime. They shout, "You hate women, you're bitter, you're toxic, you're dangerous." They don't even listen. They don't even think. Why? Because the world is comfortable. When men don't see the patterns, a man who sees through emotional games is harder to guilt, harder to manipulate, and harder to control. A man who knows his worth does not buy things to feel like a real man, stay in a draining relationship out of fear, apologize for emotions he never caused, give to earn validation, allow guilt to become his leash. He becomes unpredictable, not in a dangerous way, but in a self-respecting way. And self-respecting men are terrible for certain systems. A man with a backbone is bad for business, bad for social programming, bad for anything that depends on men being soft, scared, confused, or ashamed of their nature. So the message gets twisted. You're told, a real man must always open up, always confess, always bend, always understand, always adjust, no matter what. Notice something. They never say she should do that. Only you. They never say she must always confess, always fix you, always adjust to your emotions. Only you. Only men. Because if men stay emotional servants, if men stay confused about their own power, if men stay terrified of being called toxic, then men remain easy to guide. But here's the truth they don't want you to understand. A real man can be strong and soft. A real man can be gentle and grounded. A real man can feel deeply and stay centered. Tears do not make you weak, but abandoning yourself to keep someone else calm does. Talking about your feelings is healthy, but letting someone weaponize your feelings against you is not. Love is powerful, but love without a backbone is not love. It's emotional slavery you disguised as romance. Your emotions should serve your values, not someone else's control. Your vulnerability should be a gift, not a way for others to steer your life. Your softness should be your choice, not a reaction to her mood swings. This is the banned part. This is the part that gets censored, mocked, attacked. Not that we expose women, not that we blame or insult anyone, but that we give men back something the world quietly took from them. Their center, their clarity, their backbone, their emotional freedom. A man with his center is calm. A man with his center is hard to move. A man with his center sees clearly. A man with his center cannot be guilted, cannot be pushed, cannot be emotionally tricked into surrendering his identity. That is the man the world fears, not because he is cruel, but because he cannot be controlled. The shift from chasing to choosing. So what does a sovereign man actually look like? Not the internet version, not the alpha caricature, not the cold, empty, emotionless statue. A sovereign man is none of that. He is not a stone. He is not a robot. He is not cruel or closed off. He is simply a man who learned the hardest skill, not abandoning himself for connection. And because of that, he lives by a few quiet rules. that don't need noise, rebellion, or bravado. They live in his presence, not his mouth. Rule 1. My peace comes first. If being with you costs me my peace, I choose my peace. Every time. Without drama, without shouting, without proving a point. Peace is not weakness. Peace is a boundary. A man who protects his peace protects the whole house. Rule 2. I don't explain my value. I don't beg for you to understand me. I don't write essays hoping you'll finally get me. I don't repeat myself trying to be chosen. My value is shown in how I move, how I live, how I treat myself, what I tolerate, what I walk away from. A sovereign man doesn't advertise his worth. His life does that for him. Rule 3. I don't chase confusion. If you act hot and cold on purpose, I don't chase the warmth and fear the cold. I step back, not to punish you, not to scare you, not to play games, but because inconsistency is not a language I speak. If you want me, show it. If you don't, I won't fill in the blanks for you. Rule 4. I answer actions, not words. You can say you love me every day. You can say you care. You can say you're trying, but I watch. How you speak when you're angry, how you treat me when you're tired, how you act when you're upset, how you respond when I set a boundary. Words are air. Actions are truth. And I build my life on truth, not promises. Rule 5. I can walk away, not as a threat, not as a weapon, not as a performance, but as a standard. If something disrespects my soul, if something breaks my boundaries, if something asks me to bend until I disappear, I leave. Not with hatred, not with revenge, not with ego. I leave with self-respect. A sovereign man doesn't cling to places that shrink him. Why, this kind of man is rare. This man doesn't hate women. He doesn't fear them. He doesn't fight them. He doesn't try to win some imaginary battle. He actually honors women. He honors them enough to not play games with them and not allow games to be played on him. He sees through manipulation without attacking. He sets boundaries without yelling. He can love deeply without losing himself. He can give affection without sacrificing dignity. That balance is rare, and rare things change rooms. How women react to him. Women feel this difference instantly. Some will test him harder, not out of cruelty, but to understand the depth of his center. Some will fear him because they can't move him with emotional storms. Some will respect him immediately because they feel his self-control, his clarity, his grounded presence. But the right woman will melt. Not because he dominates her, not because he controls her, not because he intimidates her, but because she feels what all feminine energy longs for. A man who is safe with himself, a man who can handle her softness without collapsing, a man who can handle her emotions without losing his own, a man who does not get small when she becomes big. A sovereign man doesn't need to chase. His energy does the choosing. His standards do the filtering. His calm does the speaking. He doesn't get chosen by accident. He gets chosen by alignment. And he knows, when you become a man who chooses, you stop being a man who chases. What to do starting today? You don't need to become cold. You don't need to become cruel. You don't need to get revenge on anyone. Revenge is still attachment. Hatred is still attachment. Overthinking is still attachment. You don't need to fight her. You need to free yourself. And that requires something far harder than anger. It requires discipline. It requires restraint. It requires choosing yourself, even when your heart is shaking. Here's where it begins. Stop begging to be understood. You don't need to explain your soul for someone to treat it right. If they wanted to understand you, they would listen the first time. Every extra paragraph is you trying to earn gentleness, You don't earn respect by explaining. You earn it by embodying. Stop writing essays when someone goes distant. Distance is communication. Silence is communication. Late replies are communication. Don't respond with emotional essays. Respond with clarity. If you want me, show it. If you don't, that's okay too. Your calm is stronger than any speech. Stop trying to prove you're not like other guys. The moment you try to prove anything, you already lost your frame. Men who know who they are don't announce it. They don't advertise it. They don't convince people of it. They live in a way that speaks for them. Stop letting your mood be controlled by text bubbles. She replies late, your day collapses. She posts something vague, your chest tightens. She seems annoyed, your self-worth drops. Brother, this is not love. It's emotional dependency disguised as romance. Your happiness should come from your life, not her notifications. Start with small things. These are the shifts that change everything. Take longer to answer when you're busy, not to play games, not to provoke her, but because your life matters too. You have goals. You have responsibilities. You have things to build. You are not a call center for someone's mood. Say no without a 3-paragraph speech. No is a full sentence. No doesn't need a justification. No doesn't mean you don't care. A man who can say no is a man who is in control of himself. When she pulls away, don't chase. Watch. Her distance is data. Her silence is information. Her behavior is truth. Let her show you who she is, without you interrupting the process by chasing. A woman's reaction to your stillness reveals her true intentions. When you feel panic, breathe first, act later. Emotion makes poor decisions. Fear sends long texts. Anxiety creates neediness. Panic destroys attraction. If you just breathe for 10 seconds, your clarity returns. Your masculinity lives in the space between the feeling and the action. And yes, you will feel fear. You will feel guilt. You'll feel the instinct to fix everything. You'll feel the pressure to save the connection. You'll feel like you're losing her every time you stand your ground. But here's the truth you're not used to hearing. You're not losing her. You're losing the version of yourself that could never be free. The version of you that bent too easily. The version that apologized for existing. The version that lived in constant emotional fear. The version that believed love must be earned, not received. That man needs to die for a stronger man to be born. A calmer man, a grounded man, a man who loves deeply without abandoning himself. And once you become that man, you won't chase love. You'll attract it. You won't beg for respect. You'll command it. You won't fear loss. You'll choose alignment. Because the man who owns his center cannot be owned by anyone else. Why women don't want you to watch this? Not all women want you blind. Many women actually want men with strength, direction, and emotional discipline. Not the angry kind, but the kind with backbone and a soft heart at the same time. But there is a part of the game, a part built from your fear, your guilt, your need to be liked, your desire to avoid conflict. That part does not want you to hear any of this, because the moment you understand these dynamics, everything changes. Your reactions slow down, your breathing becomes steady, your value rises without you trying. Your silence becomes heavy, not empty, but powerful. Your presence stops begging, stops explaining, stops chasing. You stop being a man who gets moved by her emotions and become a man moved by his own convictions. And when that shift happens, everything becomes clear. Here is the secret most men never learn. When you stop needing to be chosen, you become the man who chooses. Asterisk, asterisk. When you stop begging for reassurance, You become the man whose calm creates reassurance. When you stop needing constant approval, you become mysterious again in the natural masculine way. And when you stop trading your self-respect for closeness, you become attractive in a way no script, no tactic, no pick-up line, and no alpha trick can ever create. You don't shine because you're trying. You shine because you're centered. You shine because you're not moved by every wave. You shine because you respect yourself, even when your heart is involved. So, do women not want you to watch this? Some don't. Because a man who sees clearly cannot be controlled with silence, cannot be manipulated with guilt, cannot be pushed around with tears, and cannot be kept small with emotional games. But some women do want you to hear this, because strong men make strong relationships. Grounded men make safe homes. Centered men raise the standard for everyone around them. You watched it. You stayed until the end, which means something in you is ready. Now the real question is this: will you go back to playing the old role? The reactive man, the over-explainer, the emotional firefighter, the one who bends to keep the peace? Or will you step into the man you were meant to be? The man who doesn't need to prove he has power, because he stopped giving it away? A sovereign man doesn't shout. He doesn't argue. He doesn't chase. He simply stands in who he is. And that alone is enough.